a shock and all, and we didn't get that. I know they tried it with Booker T, but like I said, when he's a current face that you see, it's really not a shock and all.
Yeah.
And he lasted less than a minute because he was able to go in there, did a couple moves, did a spin-a-rooney, and then he got kicked out. So it wasn't the best.
Not physically demanding.
Right. Another thing over the weekend, the thing of the Hulk Hogan scare, which what is the scare was on the Kurt Angle show. He announced that Hulk Hogan had another back surgery and lost the feeling in his legs, which I didn't know if it was true or not when I heard it, because you just seen Hulk Hogan open Monday Night Raw. Now, I didn't watch Monday Night Raw, but I've seen the clips on the YouTubes where him and Jimmy Hart opened Raw this past week, and he walked out. So I don't know. I mean, Kurt Angle on his show said that he has to walk with a cane because he can't feel his legs. And that could be why he didn't walk down to the ring. You know, he just walked out of the gorilla position and onto the ramp. But Nate said that he did a little research and it's not true.
Yeah, the rep said that he is fine and taking it as a joke.
So I mean that's good. I mean I know a lot of people's like nah on Hogan. I really like Hogan.
Bobby's the nah. I like Hogan because I'm a little bit older than Bobby, so I remember him back.
Well, I remember him I'm going to put it like this. Any guy that gives his whole body to the world of wrestling, I got to give my respects to. And, you know, the whole 80s, he was the man. You know, he took a couple years off and did Thunder in Paradise, but then he got pulled right back in to WCW, and then maybe a year or so after that, then he became the man again when they formed the NWO.
Well, he bench pressed Andre the Giant. So there you go.
Well,
gotta like him just for that.
He didn't bench press him
as much with NWO.
It was a body slam. I don't think anyone could bench press Andre the Giant. However, he wasn't even the first one, and that wasn't even the first time that he body slammed him. A lot of people have body slammed Andre the Giant. I mean, Harley Race was one of them that there's clearly video of him body slamming Andre, and he's nowhere near the size of Hulk Hogan. There's video of Hulk Hogan before he was actually known as Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant. So I mean that was a little Vince creative that that they threw in there.
And people remember
that.
Yep, and I remember.
You know, it's so weird too because in the territories stuff can happen, but it didn't happen unless it was on TV. And you know, since Vince had the bigger TV operation, you know, it didn't happen unless it happened on Vince's TV. It's so funny. But I guess it's like that in anything, you know, in politics and politics. That's another subject we won't touch. But
it kind of goes along more with like the victors get to write the history.
Yeah.
It's all Vince's videos that are out there everywhere.
Yep. That's true. So, I mean, Hogan, he gave his life to wrestling. He is wrestling. When you hear wrestling, you know, Hulk Hogan is probably the first name you think of, unless you're a wrestler. But when you're outside of wrestling and someone talks wrestling, Hulk Hogan would be the name. So it's good. Hopefully it is a joke. Hopefully he's still getting out and about because I myself had one night where I couldn't feel my legs, and that scared the piss out of me. Yes,
couldn't feel your legs, and there was stitches in your head.
Oh yeah, it was a pretty bad night, and that wasn't due to a surgery. That was just due to a wrestling match. So,
What you doing?
Right?
It wasn't me.
But it's a scary subject when you can't start feeling your limbs. So I mean, if that was true on Hogan, hopefully he can get a turnaround. But he's had so many damn back surgeries. And there was, I'll tell you, I know Nate's posted the pictures before, but I have multiple pictures with Hogan. And there's pictures where you can tell that he was taller than me. And then, like, as the pictures go on, you can see where I am now taller than Hogan. Just because every back surgery he's had, it has shrunk him. So I
know from that Hogan Knows Best show, they talked about his hips were gone too. Not even just his back, his whole hips gone from all them leg drops.
Right. Yeah.
Well, his bump card has been revoked a long time ago.
It got revoked.
And the funny thing is he, for the longest time, he wanted to come back for one more, and everyone's telling him, no, you're messed up, kind of like the whole Ric Flair. Everyone was like, no, but Ric Flair had to have one more.
He just has to have one more 20 times.
There's some parts in Ric Flair's last match that you could tell that, he, more props to him too. Much respect to Ric Flair, because God knows he was my favorite. Once I became a wrestler, he was definitely one of my favorites. And him and Brody going an hour at the Chase, a lot of people could tell you that he can go an hour with everyone, and it would be all a different match. There might be some movement, like, he does the Flair bump and stuff, but every match will be different. I mean, so you got to give him props, but I'm glad he made it through the last match. Because even him, he said himself that there's a part of that match that he doesn't remember, because either he lost consciousness by either a bump he did or just being winded. But even by his own words, there's a part of the match he don't even remember. So it's kind of crazy. But thank God he got through it. I mean, I've met Ric Flair. He's a great guy. So he can be on that Mount Rushmore, but just no more matches. Just be the idol you should be.
Just make talking appearances if you really want.
And he makes a killing off of that too, because
people will show up to watch him talk.
He's a great talker.
I kind of heard the prices that he charges, and he makes a killing. So more power to him. That's another thing over, since our last podcast, there's like 4 new wrestlers added to our big show on May 13th.
This is getting crazy. I love it.
I know. I mean, everyone's coming
There's
out
no
of the
way this
woodwork.
can be one day. There is no way.
They're going to have to split it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the plans are. I haven't seen this building. I've seen the outside of the building, but I haven't stopped in to see the inside. I know it's supposed to be a big room, and the dressing rooms are big, and then it's connected to a bar that's connected to a sitting area for a restaurant for that bar. So, I don't know. But, man, I mean, we got to be about 29. I know everyone was like, oh, man, 30 wrestlers would be great. I think we're actually over that. And I know there's some in the woodwork that's still being shouted out. I mean, so since the last time we talked, Stan Hansen, big idol of mine, he's joined it.
Yeah, you got to be nervous. You got Stan Hansen and JBL watching your lariat that night.
I know. You got two
Better
guys,
take someone's head off.
the creator of the lariat, and then you got JBL, who changed the name just to Clothesline to Hell. Clothesline from Hell.
And you changed it back to the lariat?
And then I changed it back to the lariat. No, I met Stan Hansen once, but that was before I was really committed to using the lariat as a finisher.
Good. You better not screw up on the 13th then.
You better take somebody's head off.
Right.
Unless it's mine.
I mean, Stan Hansen was a great guy outside of the ring, but I'm so glad that he's been retired. And I didn't get a chance to wrestle him because you can hear the stories about Stan, and just like me too, I wear contacts. Of course, back in the day, there was no contacts; it was glasses. So he had to take those glasses off. So they say that that's really why his lariat looked so devastating, because he was blind.
He just swinging for something.
Yeah, he was just swinging for the fences every time. So sometimes it's the things you don't know that causes the things that get your reaction. But other than that, yeah, he's a great guy. But yeah, to have him and JBL there, my lariat's got to be on point that night. So I know it's not officially who I have that night or what kind of match I'll have, but you bet your butt I'm going to bring it. So it's going to be good. But yeah, so we got Stan Hansen. We got the Nasty Boys, Sags and Knobs.
I used to watch them so much and give my oldest son to Pity City.
Oh, I remember at the practice gym, you giving that out to people.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I mean, just think about it, Nate. You're a sweaty big guy, sweaty armpit.
No sleeves. You just got that armpit coming in.
And that's where you put your opponent's head, right in there.
Yeah, they're standing in the corner. You run in, you slam that armpit in there, and make them rub it in a little bit.
I mean, you might not think about the Nasty Boys being some badasses, but legitimately, there are some badasses. I mean, everyone knows who Ken Shamrock is. You know, one of the champions for the UFC. But you can YouTube it because a lot of people talk about it. You got Sags talking about it. You got Flair talking about it. There's a whole bunch of people talking about back in the day. There was a time when Ken Shamrock was champion. I can't think of the name of the organization. It wasn't like a WWE or WCW. It was just one of the territories, and the Nasty Boys were in it as well. And it was started at a bar over a girl, and words were spoken, and ended in their hotel, where Shamrock broke into their apartment, their hotel room, and just let Knobs have it. Now, depending on what side of the story you hear, you can hear Ken Shamrock say that he was given everything to Knobs and then was able to do it to Sags. If you hear Sags' version, Knobs was passed out on the bed when Ken Shamrock was beating him up. And then Sags pulled him off of him, and then they scuffled, and then Sags got the best of Ken Shamrock. So, I mean, whoever you want to believe that night, but there's a lot of people saying that they believe the Nasty Boys, because there's a couple people. Colonel Parker was one of the witnesses. Man, I can't think of the name. Again, I can't think of the name of this promoter, but George South was the name of the promoter, and he's still promoting today. He still wrestles today, which is amazing, because he's at least the same age as Flair. Because there's a lot of matches where Flair would come into the territory and he would choose George South to wrestle. just because he was that good. And he's got a training facility out there too that you can go and get trained by him. But anyway, so even he was like a witness to this. And they all say that Sags just beat the piss out of Ken Shamrock. I mean, either way, whatever version you get, the end result is the same. Ken Shamrock went into the hospital and he almost died. So if you hear it from Ken's mouth or you hear it from Sags, they both agree on the ending. Ken Shamrock went to the hospital, almost died. So,
Well, you're not winning if you're going to the hospital and nobody else is.
right. But yeah, so there's some legit badasses in.
Well, we're going to have to get them on the 13th when they sit down with us to tell us that story from their point of view.
Oh, that would be great. And Knobs, I mean, he's a pretty good talker too. It would be kind of hard to get him to actually stop telling us the story. Now we were actually supposed to have
lots of storage and battery on your phone.
Yeah, you're right. Now we were actually supposed to have them in town last October, but Knobs had some medical issues and was currently in the hospital when we had our big show, which made them both not be able to go because you can't have one without the other because they're the nasty boys,
Yep.
But yeah, so
nasty boy just doesn't have as good of a ring.
Right.
Yep.
So, Hobbs is medically cleared and he's able to travel again. So we're getting them.
Who did you say? Okay, you said Hanson, Nasty Boys. Who else did you say? There's two more.
The one that was announced yesterday was Black Bart. Now, a lot of people might not know who Black Bart is. So I didn't, even I, 2 years ago, didn't know who Black Bart was. But like I said, my love to research and just listen to the wrestling podcasts and listening to people bitch online. There's a word for it, a shoot. You can search him. There's like a 2-hour podcast shoot interview that I actually listened to a long time ago. And I heard him, say his name many a times, but until her posted the picture of him, I didn't put two to two together because, the shoot interview, he's an older, heavier set guy now. But once you see the old picture of him and then do some YouTubing on him and Google search, it's like, oh my God, I know who that is. But he was, he worked everything. He worked the WWF, he worked WCW, he worked for the NWA, he worked for WCCW, he worked for Mid-South, he worked for Georgia Championship Wrestling. He's worked every place. Now, the reason why you don't know who he is because, again, it was old, the earlier times back then. And his last stint was basically in WWF, and they just jobbed him out. But he was a WCCW heavyweight champion. He held that belt for a while and lost it to Kevin Von Erich. He was a Mid-South champion. He was an NWA heavyweight champion. So, he was NWA heavyweight champion, his WCCW heavyweight champion. So he's been in some great organizations and been the top of those organizations. It's just that his stint in WWE. Now, if you listen to that shoot interview that's on YouTube about him, he tells you that it was basically McMahon picking on him because he wanted him to come up there to work the New York territory a couple years prior to him actually doing it. And since finally he went up there, McMahon did that to him to kind of say, he was being jobbed out, but he was making great money. And it's kind of weird that he would do it, but that's the kind of person that you hear that McMahon is. So he's going to pay him to get his ass beat, but he's going to pay him well, just to give him a point that this is the kind of money you could have been making 3 or 4 years ago, and I probably would have pushed you up my card. But since you didn't want to come 3 or 4 years ago, I'm going to work you for this 1 year contract, but you're going to get your ass handed to you every night. But it's going to be good money. So, it's just one of those things that
you're getting paid.
Right. But, so after that contract expired, he went back down south. And there's some things about him giving Ric Flair some props. That again, when the NWA heavyweight champion would come to these smaller territories, they would always pick the biggest guy, not saying the biggest guy, but the well-known big guy in that area, their version of the heavyweight champion. They would wrestle them and put them over, but at the end, be able to get that victory over that guy. So it kind of builds up their regional champion by saying that they can work and last with Ric Flair, but at the end, Ric Flair can seal the deal and win, and then take that heavyweight belt somewhere else to the next city or territory. And Black Bart was one of those guys. So where if Black Bart was in that territory and Flair would stop in, Flair would say, I want to wrestle him. And Black Bart, was grateful of that, But evidently working in WCW, there was some backstabbing, and Flair didn't like him anymore, and that was pretty much the end of his career. Because, at a certain point, Flair was the booker of WCW. But he was a very tall guy, and dressed up kind of like a cowboy, even though his name screams pirate. But he dressed up like a cowboy.
He even had the black beard.
Right. And I'm pretty much sure that that's the reason why I found him a few years ago, is because I was doing my own research about how I was going to create the big Texan, and I stumbled across him. And it was kind of cool being able to put those two together, and it's like, oh my God, I listened to this guy talk for 2 hours. And
you doing all right there, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure? You almost fell
I'm
over.
debating pausing my screen here and going to the bathroom real quick, but
but before you go, who was the other guy that
Looks like a loop and Barry
Horowitz.
Oh, Barry Horowitz.
Yep.
All right, so you can pause your screen and go to the bathroom, and I'll talk about Barry. So Barry Horowitz, he was also known as a jobber in WWF. He did have some victories, because I think he was able to beat. Oh my gosh, no. Sunny was like the first diva, and her boyfriend at the time, I think, was going by the name of Skip. And Barry Horowitz was able to beat him. But normally, Barry was an excellent wrestler, but somehow couldn't just get the job done. So he
didn't have the stamina, or he didn't have the finisher?
He just didn't have, I guess, a finisher, because so he enhanced the talent there a lot. And in the early 80s, there was guys that you would see, unknown name guys that would lose, and then you'll never see them again. Well, Barry Horowitz, he was such a good wrestler that even though he lost, he just kept getting chance after chance after chance. And so he had a good, I don't know how many years, but probably a good 10-year status with the WWE F at the time. I don't know how many matches he's won, but he was such a good wrestler when he wrestled that they just kept him on. And you wouldn't hear that in today's wrestling world. Someone who couldn't win a match, but you kept him on your roster. But back then, he was such a good wrestler. He just couldn't seal it. So but he made the other guys look so great too. So they kept him on. But his big thing was he had a handprint on his back of whatever outfit he was wearing. And so he would do like a self high five to himself, like a pat on the back. You're doing good. Yeah. I was just telling Nate that he was a great wrestler, but he could never finish it, never could seal the deal on it. So they kept him going because he was such a great wrestler. But it's something that you wouldn't hear anymore today, keeping a wrestler on your roster who couldn't win, but just was a good wrestler. But back then, he was able to do that. So it's good that we get to, get him coming in and get him to some fans because, man, I want to say he wrestled at something else too. I want to maybe, I don't know, that was the Brooklyn Brawler. The Brooklyn Brawler was another guy in that kind of status. Was a guy who could wrestle really well, but just didn't win a lot. I don't know the name of the other wrestler, but I know he dressed up as like a baseball player. Screwball. So, yeah, multiple different names. But Barry Horowitz actually wrestled in WCW for a little while after his stint in WWEF. Because I do remember him coming down to WCW and wrestling. He still wrestles. So he's another one from the 80s era that you would still see on the mat wrestling people. It's kind of crazy how they can still do it. Like Bob.
Holding up.
Right. Bob can still go. He, besides getting up in the training ring and teaching, there's some nights that we'll talk about where he just came from, whether it be California or New Jersey, where he just got done wrestling. There was a match that just made it to YouTube. I think it was 2 months old, where he was wrestling against Shark Boy. It was a tag match. Bob's tag partner was the one that actually lost the match. Yeah, and you still hear the crowd chanting, for Bob. So it's pretty cool. And in that match, he's actually wearing his Ace Academy T-shirt. So
nice,
nice little promoting for himself,
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the legends. Now there's rumors. I don't know how they're going to pull it off, but there's rumors of at least 4 more people that I know of that I'm getting like little tips about or hints saying that they're thinking about bringing this one in or thinking about bringing this tag team in. So I don't think we're done. I mean, I think next week we're still going to be talking about another tag team or another couple people that's going to come in.
Well, did you mention Bushwhacker Luke?
Oh, I don't know if we have or not. He's coming in.
Who was that?
Bushwhacker Luke.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was telling again, you guys off camera, but we'll say it on camera. The Bushwhackers was my mom's favorite tag team. They would all, do the whole arm wagging and the head bobbing and, just a kind of like a comic relief tag team. But back in the day, they used to book for Puerto Rico. And if you know anything about Puerto Rico wrestling, that was some hard times out there. I mean that's where unfortunately Bruiser Brody lost his life, was in Puerto Rico. But Puerto Rico was was a pretty crazy place to wrestle. I mean, the audience would throw rocks and everything into the ring just to peg a wrestler. And the sheep herders were the bookers. So they're one of the ones to put that stuff together. They were a mean tag team. And to see them going from, because they were the sheep herders everywhere else, but as soon as they went up to WWE or F, they were the bushwhackers and totally flipped their character. I mean, they went from Billy Badass to comic relief, style. And, I mean, it worked for them. I don't think they ever won any belts or anything up there, but they had a long tenure there. As a matter of fact, I don't know what Rumble it was, but one of them popped up in a Rumble as a surprise, too. And for a while, one of them had the shortest time in a Rumble. Slid in and got clotheslined right back out. So, I mean, it was a matter of
doing this on the floor.
Yeah, and then went right back to doing his little gimmick. But yeah, it's going to be great to see him. He's another one that's come through our circuit before. And the crazy thing is, it was probably 2 weeks ago. I posted a picture of him and my son together. And it was probably a few years because it was one of those Facebook memories. And of course, my son is probably as tall as he is now, but he was probably half the size in the picture. But I think my son, his name's Dylan, one of my sons, he gets a little kick out of it too because he's got pictures of different people. Like one of the pictures I have with Hulk Hogan, I'm holding him. And then there's a picture I didn't take. I was actually looking the other way when the picture was taken, but it was my son and the Honky Tonk Man talking to each other. So just cool little things that he's got. He ain't the biggest wrestling fan in the world anymore. But my sons, they all had their little stints. And Bobby's probably the same way now, but I have 3 boys, and they all had their little stints where they wanted to come be with Dad when he was traveling and wrestling and meeting legends and being able to talk to them and shake their hands and stuff. And then slowly they weed themselves out, and that's when the next one come up, and then the next one come up. And now they all just occasionally stop in and watch a wrestling show. My oldest one now is hooked on Peacock and watching all the old wrestling shows. But it's still kind of cool. But it's, like I said, man, I like to go everywhere, don't I? But it's kind of cool that he came through and we get to announce that he's coming back. Right around the same time that he came through before, because the picture popped up. But yeah, so man, I'm sure Nate can post the most recent list because that list seems to change definitely weekly. Yeah, definitely weekly, but it seems like frequently. Give it a couple days and someone else is added on. From what I heard, there might be another manager coming through, and this guy, if it works out and he comes through, he is like the man when it comes to wrestling history. So it'd be really cool to see him come back through. And he's very big on St. Louis wrestling history. Wrestling at the Chase, they always did flyers. And not just like a one-sheet flyer. It was like a few pages. It was almost like a small magazine that they would send you, and it would have the results from the last show and what you're expected on the next show. And he's got 100% of all of them. And when I say that, he's got a copy of every single one of them. It's just like Herb Simmons does. I think Herb actually had to give him some to complete his own own set. But man, There's I know we wanted to keep this short, but man, we're already going an hour and a half, and we haven't even talked about the TV program that was this past Sunday. And we should talk about it because one of our own was the main event in it. So we'll just make it quick. I'll run through it. The show started out with Big Nasty Glenn Williams. He went against another legend. The Boogie Woogie Boy, Gary Violent, sorry. Jimmy.
One of those three.
Yeah, one of those three. Jimmy Violent. Say it one more time, Bobby.
Valiant.
Right, Jimmy was the more popular one, being the Boogie Woogie Boy. Boogie Woogie Man, wasn't he, though?
Yeah, I think he was the man. Yeah, the man, the boy.
So the Boogie Woogie Boy's been around for a while. I've met him before. Great guy, really old school wrestling. But Big Nasty tried to get a victory over him, and actually had some pretty good moves.
Rookie of the year, Big Nasty Glenn Williams.
Oh, that's right. If you still want to vote for Big Nasty being the Rookie of the Year, you can go to SICW.org, and you can actually mail in. There's a mailbox address you can mail in to, so make sure your vote counts.
He's still doing that.
I'm sure he'll still do it. You guys need to do it because there's sometimes he'll read your letters on air. So if you mail something in, you might be on one of the TV shows. So after that match, Boogie Woogie Boy won. Now he does this move. It's almost like a Stone Cold Stunner, but he does it off the ropes. Like he hits the ropes as the other guy is like wobbly, standing there, and then he comes off with a stunner. So it's almost like a flying stunner. It's kind of cool. The first time I seen it was a couple weeks ago, and I seen it. I was like, wow, that's different. But yeah, so Boogie Woogie Boy won. We'll skip through this part real quick because there's just a really stupid interview with Devastation Incorporated. We're talking mainly to Stephen E. because the other three guys couldn't talk. They don't really know how to talk.
They're
talking
about his investors wanting to buy SICW.
Right, like I said, it's just really stupid talk because they know this is his 50th year, and they're saying that he's too old, that he needs to retire, and they'll just buy it off of his hands and take it. Of course,
not gonna happen.
Yeah, we gotta hope Herb still has some fight left in him.
He does. Herb has some fight. So I doubt this is going to happen. So we'll just skip over it. But right after the interview, Peyton did have a match. He went against David Lee Walker. Now, David's been a pretty regular on the show. They did have a good back and forth, but Peyton is just so tall and so big that he was able to really just secure. I mean, he didn't even really have any help because Stephen E. was out there, and Stephen E. likes to interfere, but Peyton was able to just capture the victory over Walker. And then we did have this great interview.
We got to go over what Peyton and Stephen E. did after that match too. To the Army veteran, laying that Afghani flag over him like it's a casket.
Oh, that's true.
It was complete disrespect to her.
That's true. And Drew if you guys watched the TV program, Drew kind of went crazy about that too. Like, how dare they? So, all right. So this is going to be a 2-hour podcast. So
I'm gonna have to do something. This is too far.
Look,
all
I'm gonna say is this is America.
You might have just woken up something within David Lee Walker doing that to an Army veteran.
This is America. I support our military.
After the match ended, Peyton already got the win. Yeah, Stephen E. During that crappy interview that he did, he whipped out that Afghanian flag and was talking about it. And yeah, like Bobby said, they laid that on top of David Lee Walker. So that was totally disgraceful. Since Walker was prior military.
Yes.
But anyway, let's talk about good stuff, Bobby. So after the whole Peyton thing happened, there was an awesome interview with the gorgeous one, Gary Jackson, and his amazing, talented tag team partner, the Big Texan. And of course, they are the tag team.
You might be a little biased on that.
I don't see any biasing. It's all good.
How you really feel about yourself?
No, I'm talking about myself in the third character, kind of like how The Rock did, So the Big Texan, who's very talented and is one half of the tag team champions. So anyway, it was an interview about, basically, I got this thing with Attila going on February 11th. But I'm still a tag team champion, so me and Gary still have to come together. And, there's some rising tag teams coming up. They got, you got Curtis. Curtis actually tagged with Bobby last time, right? So we don't want that tag team. But,
Vince have the wrongly named Top Gun.
Well, yeah. So we got the Top Guns. We got
LA Hustlers.
LA Hustlers. There's a whole bunch of different people. So, basically, it was just an interview confirming that yes, I do have Attila Con February 11th. Shout out because it's at the Belclair Fairgrounds. Doors open at 6. Starts at 7. And the big stipulation on that match, I finally got it to where there's going to be no interference. So none of Stephen E's little Michelins or minions are going to interfere, and none of the other group.
Devastation Incorporated?
No, that's
Dogtown Underground.
Dogtown Underground. So there should be no interference because they're both teams are going to be shoot out the door. So they're going to be barred. So it's just going to be me and Attila Con one-on-one. So, but anyway, so the interview was, even though I have him one-on-one, I'm still very much a tag team with Gary, and we're going to take on, anyone who wants a shot. So, will it be LA or Sean Vincent and who did he tag with? Yeah, intern, but he also tagged with Superstar Steve last time too. So it all depends on who they are. But me and Gary, not a problem. We'll knock them down. So after that amazing interview with the tag team champions, speaking of Dogtown Underground, Big Joe Helms went against Cannonball Matthews. Now, Cannonball Matthews is kind of like a newer guy that's coming through, which I really thought would be perfect for Bobby if Bobby needed a tag partner, because they're both into that wrestling, collegiate wrestling. But Cannonball did not fare so well. Big Joe Helms was just too big. He also had his manager at ringside. I really don't think Lucky P. Larson interfered. I mean, I would have to go back and really look, but I don't think he needed to either.
I don't think he did either.
But
I've mixed it up with Big Joe Helms. He's a big, nasty, strong guy, former arena football player. Like, he's not to be taken lightly.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a big street thug too. Like a classic throwback, 60-era mob thug.
He's only going to continue to get better with each match, too. That's what you got to watch.
Yeah, because last time I seen him wrestle, he won with a submission. So it all depends. Let's see here. We had a classic match that really turned into a cluster. But Greg the Hammer Valentine and a guy named Yaju Fuji, not related to the Fuji from WWE, went against Spike Huber and Bulldog Bob Brown. And I say it was a cluster because you got a good mix. You got Greg the Hammer Valentine, who is a hard knocks type of wrestler, mixing it with Bulldog Bob Brown, which we talked about before, was a previous Central States champion.
I believe the most times.
Yeah,
I don't remember what the number was, but I thought he had it the most times.
Yeah, so you had those two guys, and then you have Fuji, who, of course, his name says it all. He's from the Orient, so he was able to throw some mixed martial arts up in there. And then Spike Huber, he's been around forever too. Back in that era, he had wrestled for everyone. But one thing that I find is kind of cool, and you don't see it anymore. Back in the day, when it was a tag team match, you had two referees. So you had one on the outside and you had one on the inside, and they can go in and out as much as they wanted to. So if say the match got crazy, which this one did get crazy, where you had all four of them going at one point at each other, two outside the ring, two inside the ring, and so it took two referees to kind of get that resolved. But it ended up being a time limit draw. But I swear it was probably going to get like DQ'd or counted out prior if the time limit didn't go by, because by the end of this match they were just going everywhere, and it wasn't really wrestling towards the end either. It was just more of a beat the piss out of you,
We're not being contained.
Right. And Greg the Hammer Valentine, he was he was the first legend that I was able to wrestle back in the day. We're probably talking at least 12 years ago that I wrestled him, maybe even longer. But when you look at him, he just looks so freaking rugged. His demeanor, his face. He looks like, not that he was chiseled out of stone as a big buff guy. He looks like he was chiseled out of stone because he looks rugged. But great guy, very soft-spoken, believe it or not. But when you wrestled him, I heard a story about Gorilla Monsoon used to say after Greg had been in there for like 20, 30 minutes, well, he's just now getting warmed up. Because he was that kind of, if you ever watched him, he was really slow in the ring. And so, 15, 20 minutes of him being in there, that actually just lubricated the joints where now he can actually wrestle. It's just weird. But
back in the day, he had these big, long matches, he had to pace himself.
Yeah, and paced himself, he did. But after the classic match, Bobby D went against Purple Haze, Andrew Anderson.
What was that?
For this match, we'll just let Bobby explain what happened, man.
Well, I was putting my Central States title on the line, and I thought it was going a pretty good back and forth match, and then I started getting the upper hand, and he decided to shove that golden spike in my throat. Flash Flanagan came out to give me a hand, and then Kowalski came out, and they double-teamed Flash and gave him a couple of those Vader splashes in the corner twice, and hopefully Flash is going to get some payback on the 11th now.
So the main part of this story is you kept the belt, right?
I did keep the belt by disqualification.
Hey, as long as you kept the belt, that's all that matters, right?
Yep.
You're going to be the next one to have that belt the longest and the most times.
Well, hopefully not the most times, because then I'd have to lose it.
Got to make history somehow.
Well,
You need to be the repeat Bruiser Brody Cup winner.
I'm aiming for that. That was,
I would say,
if you watch some of Herb's posts, there's a lot of people throwing their, that they're going to be in that Rumble. I think this might be the biggest Rumble we've had yet as well.
Jim was saying Herb is turning people away.
yeah, it's kind of crazy because everyone wants to be part of this big card on May 13th. That you have people calling him from Texas, calling him from New Jersey, New York, Seattle, wanting to come in just to be part of the Rumble, which is kind of crazy. They don't, they don't even want a match. I mean, I'm sure they would love a match, but they're doing this just to be part of the Rumble. And I know, the very first one that Herb announced was a guy from Texas. Who grew up being a fan of Bruiser Brody. And Herb has got a soft spot for anyone who loves Bruiser Brody. So he was the very first one announced to go in for this Rumble. But there's some other guys from Newbury coming in. There's guys, I think he did choose a guy from New Jersey to come in. So even though he's being overwhelmed, if you guys want to come here and wrestle, SICW.org, it'll give you the setup. I ain't saying that you got a great chance, but you might have a chance because we're still a couple months away from this.
And Bobby cannot let that cup go to the West Coast. Nope.
No. I'm going to do everything I can to keep it with me another year.
And I came from the West Coast. You can't let it go.
Just like you, it's going to stay here.
Right. But so we do got to go through February the 11th first. So February 11th, there's only 2 matches on the card so far. You said it. It's going to be Kowalski versus Flash Flanagan. And then you got me versus Attila Khan. I'm sure the Central States champion is going to be there.
I'll be there.
Jackson. Yeah.
As I said earlier, it's the homecoming. Of course, I'm going to be there.
Right.
Back in Belleville.
I would say, this is the first time that we're going to be in Belleville and actually have Belleville our home. So I would definitely tell you to go get your tickets now. Our name is on the marquee, in Belleville at the fairgrounds right now. So I'm just kind of excited and geeked. I know I'm not really showing it because it is almost midnight. And this short podcast is just turned into a regular podcast for us.
We can never say, I'm not doing my job properly because I don't cut you off and say, okay, we have to move it along.
I don't think I've ever seen the Texan have a short conversation.
No.
That's my problem, too. Maybe next week's podcast, I'm going to have to use the bathroom the whole time, and we'll just have Nate and Bobby start talking.
It'll be short then.
You would come back and it would be like, okay, we're talking about that.
We're waiting on you.
We're waiting on you. That's horrible. Man, but yeah, so I can't wait for this. Be back at home. So just having both teams barred from the building during my match is just a great, not just as an achievement, but it's a good benefit on my side.
Don't get complacent. I don't think it's going to stick.
It's true.
Oh, man. It better because I really want just a one-on-one with Attila for the belt because I know one-on-one with no distractions, I can take it. And, that's my goal. I want to be the very first classic champion / tag team champion in SICW's history. I've been with this company off and on for many a years, and so many wrestlers come and go, and to be the first at something, I think that's going to be great. So if I can get
for 15 years, so yeah, that's going to be an achievement.
If I can get that the top strap and the tags, keep the tag straps, man, it'll be great. The first, it'll be awesome. Just like just like Bobby, because technically there was no person that was both the Bruiser Brody Battle Royal champion and the Central States champion. So Bobby's already had his first.
And we're going to have the family podcast to have that on.
So yeah, February 11th, like I said, doors open at 6, Belclair Fairgrounds, starts at 7. There's going to be beer, there's going to be food, there's food and drinks, that not more than you want, but some good wrestling, so we'll provide that.
Great wrestling.
Great wrestling, yes. So come cheer us on. We're coming home. It's going to be the first one making this our home. Just got to come, bring the family, bring your kids. It's going to be a blast for everyone.
It's great family entertainment at a time where it's definitely needed.
Right.
Yep.
We had 2 years of bullshit with this COVID stuff. 1 year of lockdown where we as wrestlers couldn't even wrestle. So it's nice to come full circle, come back home, and wrestle in front of your fans, your friends, your family. At one point, coworkers, whatever it be. So it's going to be great. Yeah. And Nate's going to be there. Everyone needs to come meet Nate. Of course, he's going to have probably a video camera or a camera next to his face the whole time. But you need to, I'm sure he'll interview if you're a great fan, especially if you're a fan of Bobby D, or a great fan of the Texas Night Trains. We'll throw your face on our podcast.
Get some clips in there.
Especially if you're a fan of both of them and you've watched and you're subscribed, you'll definitely be on.
So make sure you mention that to Nate.
So we're getting mixed reviews. Not saying mixed reviews, but some of our videos are getting great. The videos not so much. We keep asking you. Let us know what you like. Let us know.
Scribe did say he didn't like JBL, so we did comment back to the Scribe saying, join us on the 13th. You can tell him yourself.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it, but yeah.
You'll see that
we'll be there with a camera just in case.
Yeah, we can get it on film for him so when he has to sue. But definitely, guys, if you like the content, I've been talking to some people, and they told me that it's like a shoot interview without the actual meanness or the shoot about it, because it's just road stories, some hearsay stories that we tell. Some about our own locker room. We like to mix it. Evidently I like to talk for at least 2 hours at a time. So it's great. But yeah, it's what I like to talk about. Road stories, backstage stories, current events. I'll try to hit up, I can't really get into this new stuff, but I'm willing to try if that's what you guys want to talk about. Bobby's better at that than I am, of watching the new stuff. But if you guys ever want to talk about old black and white, I'm your man. Pat O'Connor, Lou Thez, Buddy Rogers. I just watched today Buddy Rogers versus Pat O'Connor, Chicago for the belt. Man, it was a great match. And Buddy Rogers was the first Nature Boy. So you can kind of get that Nature Boy feeling that Ric Flair has got, handed down. But Pat O'Connor was a staple in St. Louis. Definitely a staple. Any of the NWA territories, he was a multiple-time NWA champion. Buddy Rogers, he was, if I'm not correct, I'm pretty sure he was the first WWF champion. Yeah, it used to be the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, but internationally there was a wildlife organization with the same call letters. So they were getting sued, so they just dropped one of the W's, and then they eventually just had to drop the F, and that's how they had. There was a little period of get the F out, So, but anyway, great matches. If just tell us what you want to hear about, we'll try to come up with something. If it's new, old, current.
And stay tuned because Jim is working on bringing in some people for interviews, some legends, some people that are current now.
Yeah, it's definitely in the works. I got a list that's growing, and I think we're going to start hitting that up next week, whether it be bringing on a fan or bringing in one of the legends, or even the great Herb Simmons says that he would love to get on. That we just have to schedule it so you could, Herb Simmons is a very busy man, especially now since May 13th is coming up. He talks about being on the phone constantly, and he's got a day job too, so he's putting in the hours. I'll just say that.
Well, we're going to have to block out 2 hours of his time because I know it's going to take that long.
Oh, man.
We're going to get him before May, well before May, so we can kind of get some scoops going.
You think I can talk? Man, he's probably got me beat. Yeah, that's probably going to be a 3 or 4 part because we probably have to start ours earlier, maybe on a different day, so we can get the whole night to him. Because he was on a podcast not too long ago, and I think that was 3.5 hours. So
I'm definitely got to plug in my phone for that one.
Yeah, and he's got the stories because he's got the index cards for everyone who ever did anything at Wrestling at the Chase, and then he's got stories about people coming through because he was a promoter for 50 years. But again, that's just me rambling on. So we've made it to the 2-hour mark. I think it's time for Jim to shut down.
And boys, when you guys want new stuff, the podcast will be Bobby led at that point.
Yeah.
So all those people who go, Bobby doesn't talk enough. Well, when you guys start putting down, you want to hear about the new stuff? Well, you'll hear it.
Yeah.
And it'll be a little shorter.
No, I'm not watching.
All right. So from me and the boys from the Squared Ring, I'm going to say we out.